So this is a replay from Ensalada, who is, I mean, dude, he supports me on Twitch. He also supports me on Patreon. So big thank you for doing that, man. And this is the Tier 8 Yorktown, the American Tech Tree Support Carrier line. Probably my favorite carrier line, tech tree wise, because it's got the ability to use the tactical smoke, which comes in very handy. So it's got 3 different sets of aircraft. It's got regular torpedo bombers, and then it's got tactical rockets and tactical dive bombers. Both of the tacticals have access to a smoke curtain generator. Now, this is great for smoking yourself up in trouble, but it's also really great for smoking up a teammate who you think might be getting in trouble or needs to get someplace. So, for example, when I was playing ranked, I smoked a Michelangelo up so that he could approach something with the secondaries. Unfortunately, when the smoke ran out, he died. But, you know, details. So you can see there with both the dive bomber and rockets, you got the smoke, the tactical smoke generator, and it's got a regular squadron of torpedo bombers. This is what does most of the damage, especially for the Essex at tier 10. But this will do the majority of your damage against pretty much everything that's, you know, cruiser and up for size. The other big quirk about it is that the planes that you summon here, the Combat Air Patrol, they don't detect ships besides 2 kilometers from where they are. So basically you have to put a plane directly on top of whatever if you want to keep it detected for your team. It does get, if I remember right, a buffed area, a larger area compared to regular. And if I remember right too, the planes react a little bit faster automatically compared to the standard carriers. So, it's a nice line. It's a fun line. I like to support my team when I play carrier. So for me, I think it makes the most sense why I really enjoy this carrier line. So let's take a look at Ensalada's build. He's gone with Damage Control Party Modification 1. Now, most people go for Air Groups Mod 1 to get your planes back sooner, because as you get your planes back sooner, you can cycle them quicker, okay? That's really important in a standard carrier. But it doesn't work so well on this because you've got 2 squadrons that are tacticals. And tactical squadrons just come back automatically. It doesn't matter if you've lost the planes or not. Okay? Wyatt Earp, thank you for your Twitch Prime sub. And Electric, congratulations on 170 stream streak. 170. Crazy. By the way, chat, we do have a giveaway for a blue bonuses code. It's over on Twitch. If you're on YouTube, Rumble, or Kick, get over to Twitch. Make sure you've clicked that follow button. Following is free on Twitch, and type something into chat. So, like I was saying, for most carriers, hey Von Broik, a Air Group Modification 1 to get your planes back is a better choice. But for ships where you've got tactical aircraft as well, cycling planes isn't as important. So he went with the Damage Control Party Modification 1. That's 40% uptime for DCP. And remember, carriers have a very large uptime as it is. So that makes it just much more difficult to set them on a follow-up fire for a submarine to follow up ping, like all that kind of stuff. You can see the action time is almost 1.5 minutes now, which is really sexy. Aircraft Engines Modification 1 makes perfect sense. Smoke Generator, this is great if you want to lean into utilizing your smoke screens. There really isn't anything else here that you would care about too much. You don't necessarily want to increase your torpedo speed, and torpedo bombers have a pretty long enough torpedo bomber attack time anyways. So if you don't have smoke generator, you'd probably go for torpedo bombers here. In the 4 slot, we've got torpedo bomber HP, which also makes sense because, again, you've got 2 other strikes that are tactical. So you don't really care about losing the HP, except for the fact that as these planes lose hit points, if they lose hit points sooner because you didn't buff their HP, obviously that means fewer planes in the attack. So I might consider buffing bombers here, but torpedo bombers is fine. Remember, torpedo bombers have a heal, so technically they're okay. GS Warrior, how you doing? And then finally, he went for squadron consumables. Now, this is another change. A lot of carrier players will do flight control here because it allows, again, for cycling planes quicker. But for this carrier line, you don't need that because you only have the one torpedo bomber squadron that you're cycling. So you can get away with going with consumables modification, or you could even go for concealment if you want to play a little bit closer to the action. But the nice thing about consumables modification 1 is it gives you one extra, it's like superintendent, gives you one each extra of squadron consumables. And remember, 2 of those squadrons, the tacticals, have smoke screens, so he essentially gets 2 more smokes out of this, which is really handy. For Ensalada's captain build, he's using a standard captain with search and destroy, so that increases the patrol radius even more. Engine cooling, consumable cooldown. Repair specialist. He's gone for both the torpedo bomber skills. Sight stabilization, aircraft armor, survivability experts, and finally enhanced aircraft armor. Okay, a lot to unpack here. Couple things to mention. First of all, core build on just about any carrier is typically going to be air supremacy, followed by improved engines, followed by aircraft armor and survivability expert. Almost every carrier wants these 4 skills. Okay? Aircraft prep time, again, you're not cycling as many planes. Does this help with your tacticals coming back? That's the only reason I would say is good for taking it. Restoration time, 134 seconds. Okay, according to this site, it does. It goes from...
Oh, I was told it does not. So I was like, oh, then I don't need this.
Right. Okay, Angelic says yes. So you can see it goes from 134 to 127 seconds. So you definitely want aircraft supremacy.
Okay.
So... And then, of course, improved engines, I think, is just too darn good to get rid of. The 2.5% squadron speed gets your planes to battle quicker, gets you through anti-air that much quicker, all that kind of stuff. I would definitely be running squadron speed. Now, you'll notice that I dropped enhanced aircraft armor. I don't think you need aircraft armor on pretty much any carrier.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's the thinking behind this. We get a lot of players that think, okay, 25% damage reduction from anti-air shell hits is great. The problem is it doesn't allow you to survive much beyond it anyway. So if you take one flak puff, your planes all go yellow or whatever. Orange, yeah. Right, exactly. You take a second puff and they're pretty much all gone, okay? Even with enhanced aircraft armor, typically two puffs and they're all gone anyways. Most players understand how to weave through flak to the point where if you're going to take a point of damage, it's only going to be from one flak puff. And if you're using torpedo bombers and, hey, you've got, a heal, boom, that's when you heal them. So
yeah, that's what I normally do.
Right. So a lot of people don't take enhanced aircraft armor. It's kind of a noob trap skill, frankly.
Okay. I'll try
it. Go ahead.
No, I said I'll try it.
Okay.
I tried when you did the Santander and San Martin one, and I switched all those over from a torpedo build to a farm build, like you said, for my AP. So, I mean, like it worked better for me. So, yeah, I'll do the same thing here.
Yeah, it's worth a try. It's expensive to respec a captain, but there's no premium version of these that you can really experiment on. But, if you've got another carrier, if you just want to respec, that's fine. Other things that I would consider changing up. Torpedo bomber is a great skill to have, but it kind of gets negated by swift flying fish because the torpedoes are a little bit faster from that. It means that you have to drop close or farther away from your target, and torpedo bomber is getting to be as close to your target as possible. So these two kind of cancel each other out a little bit. Usually you just want torpedo bomber, for example.
Wait, so I don't want swift fish.
Correct. And the torpedoes are pretty slow as they are anyways, so let's see. Where's your torpedo speed? Here's your torpedo.
Really slow. Sometimes I just barely miss a ship when they're broadside because they were too slow and I don't get the full spread.
Right. So. What you're actually doing is you're missing them because you're forced to fire them farther away from the target. So 43 knots, and then if we put swift flying fish back on, they go to 45 knots. So they're 2 knots faster. The result of that is pretty negligible. Let's see. Does it show time to max? I don't think it does. Arming distance is 546 meters. Now, if we drop this, okay, now it's 520 meters. So now you can drop 20 meters closer to your target, 26 technically. Okay. The only time you would... Sorry, go ahead.
So drop swift fish. That's what I'm dropping.
I would consider dropping it. Now, there's a couple other things too that I want to comment on. Site stabilization is one of those that's quite frankly generally going to be a placebo effect. So you don't really need site stabilization. And the reason again, if you look on the site here, and let's just do the rockets because it's easiest to see here. Where does it show? It's in one of these here. Here, aiming time. Aiming time to fully aimed is 2.6 seconds with site stabilization. Without site stabilization, it's 3.1 seconds. So you're talking about a half of a second difference in timing. It's not going to matter that much.
I thought it was way more than that. I didn't know.
Most people do. Exactly. Most people do. When you play around with a site like this, it kind of helps a little bit. Site stabilization is not a bad skill to take. It's just not a great one when there's other options that will do more for you. So 1.6 seconds without site stabilization for the torpedo bombers, 0.9 seconds with them. Again, it's, you know, you're not seeing a difference. Because your torpedo bombers are your main damage dealer for this ship, and especially the Essex, you probably want proximity fuse. So 10% torpedo protection damage increase. So if you hit a target on the torpedo belt, it will damage 10% more. It negates 10% of that torpedo bulge that the ship has. So if you look at a ship in port, it will say what percent of torpedo protection it has. So this kind of negates 10% of that. This is great for battleships and cruisers when you're striking them on the side. Has no impact if you hit them on the bow or stern because they don't have torpedo protection there. Okay? Doesn't help against destroyers either. But if your torpedoes are your bread and butter, it comes in handy to run proximity fuse.
I would say they are my bread and butter. I get most of my kills that way, and just pushing people out of smoke or pushing from out of island so my teammates can actually focus fire. And like especially for DDs, I use it a lot for DDs to get them out of the way. Right,
exactly. Now you have Engine Techie on here. I'm going to drop it for a second to just illustrate that at this point, actually if I drop this, at this point, you can take another 4th point. Okay?
Right.
If you don't care about your fighters as much. Most really good carrier players you've encountered probably don't care about your fighters. Doesn't matter how big of a radius it is or whatever. They just avoid them. So
for me personally, I've been able to I usually gun down their fighters. Like I bait them, I draw them, I drop mine, and I gun them down. So I mostly use my fighters to support whoever's trying to cap or a div mate or somebody just to get pressure off them so they don't get hit. But I also smoke them too at the same time. So you know,
it's good for clearing out enemy fighters that are patrolling. Absolutely, yes. Because this allows you to drop them right outside the patrol radius of the enemy fighters, and you know they're going to engage. That being said, I think you already have a larger patrol radius than standard. I could have sworn that's one of the characteristics of these ships. Chat, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know where you'd find it on here. She does. Thank you, Angelic. So you can probably get away with not needing that extra 10%, although it you know, a buff on top of a buff is even better. But the reason I'm
That's what I figured.
Yeah, the reason I'm highlighting this is because there is one other consideration, and that's going to be bomber flight control. This helps you get your dive bombers 5% faster. Again, combined with your improved engines, gets them to target faster, gets them through anti-air flak faster, and everything else, and on target faster to do more damage. So I think bomber flight control is a good choice. Or if you find that you really do want this 10%, then now you have the ability to look at some other options, right? Patrol group leader could be handy, I suppose, because you can get one more each of your patrol fighters. But I think patrol fighters only on the carrier. That's different from the combat air patrol, right? Or
I think that is only the carrier. I could be wrong. Again, I'm a filthy casual in this game, so like not an expert by any means.
Yeah, so 4, this is 1 extra charge, and it stayed at 4. So let's take a look at this one. This is 4, pop that, and it does go to 5. So this would give you the ability to use more planes to do what you're doing. And then you can say grab, you had engine techie, which is fine. Patrol group leader is for your combat air patrol. Yeah, for down here. Yeah. Interceptors, probably, you probably don't want interceptors, especially if you're using them to clear out fighters. So,
No.
you know, you could do something like this, or if you feel like you can live without that radius, that frees you up to take, for example, both of these boosting ones, right? Squadron boost duration and boost cooldown, which obviously if you use boost a lot, that's going to help you quite a bit throughout the game. So I might go for something like this.
So my question would be then, like, I am very much a sports TV. I like playing team. You can ask any CCs I played with late at night. That's when I play. They're happy to see me because I'm gonna actually play team.
Yeah.
But I mostly smoke. I cover and I support. What gives me? Because I have noticed with my heavy bombers, a lot of them do get shot down because they're so slow before I can hit the target to do enough DPS. I lost a match last night, and I was with Lady Torpa. And we lost that match, even though we had both caps, but the DD and the cruiser barely survived my heavy bomb run by like less than 200 health points each, and it's because they suffered too much just flak before they could get there. And, and we lost because I couldn't kill them before they took the
So part 1 to that is improved engines. That gives you that little extra speed to get through anti-air. Part 2 of that, I would consider then dropping those for bomber flight control, because now you've got an extra 5% speed. Again, same idea as improved engines, get you through the flak. And then the last thing would be, if you find you're not really losing your torpedo bombers that much, then switch to bomber HP here.
I love my torps and I use them the most, so I'm gonna try that build. Let me screenshot that actually.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna try that build first and see how negligible it is with heavy bombers. And then I'll do maybe, if that's the case, and if it's still not enough, then yeah, you're probably right. Switch over to the heavy AP bomber health for that.
Stackrow, congratulations on the win. I guess, so you have squadron consumables here, so you automatically get an extra combat air patrol versus regular, right? You normally have, you normally have 3. So you automatically get the extra planes. I would say if you find yourself like constantly running out of the planes, then you know, patrol group leader would help you. But
I just prefer it because it gives me more smoke to cover, because I use my smoke to cover people for capping, and in situations where they get beached or their rudder's out and they're literally gonna die.
Hey, Kremensky. Yes, no, you're absolutely right. Squadron consumables is the way to go on this ship for the smoke, but it also gives you the extra combat air patrol and also the extra engine cooling. So it's a very good upgrade to have. But what I'm saying is, if you find yourself running out of 4 charges of combat air patrol on, you know, each of your squadrons, whatever the number is, then you might consider patrol group leader and say, okay, I want to do this. But like you just said, you were running out of your bombers, and your bombers was more important. In general, I agree. I've played this game trying to do, you know, like I'm going to counter the enemy carrier and stuff. And what I often find is I'm more helpful for my team when I'm killing a destroyer, for example, that like, you know, whatever, like a Jaeger. So bomber flight control and all this, it just helps. Like if a Jaeger puts on his anti-air and I'm running all this stuff, I don't really care what the, you know, I'm just gonna, dude, I'm dropping on you, deal with it, you know, like, so I would say try starting with this build and then experiment some more and play around with it. But I think this is the build that I run myself on Yorktown.
Okay. I'll try it. I mean, like the first 2 tiers for the fighters, I do often use for a lot of my CVs. I never use tier 3 and 4 for the patrol fighters. It's just I never go to that extent. But I'll try it because heavy bombers, when I hit, I do hit. The problem is only 3 or 2 make it.
Yes,
and that's all that's getting this drop off, and that's the problem.
Yes. So that'll help. And then when we watch the replay, there might be some things I can give to you, help with you. I want to point out,
looking forward to it.
In this particular carrier line, enhanced reactions actually hurts you. So you definitely don't want enhanced reactions.
Oh.
Okay, because it increases arrival time and then decreases time before attack. And the problem with that is it actually cancels each other out and doesn't really do much benefit for you. Actually, I think it slows down the speed at which your planes can attack. And then interceptors, like I said, they don't take out enemy fighters. So if you were to put this next to that circle, it doesn't work for the purpose you were talking about. So I wouldn't do interceptors.
Oh, you're talking about 3 and 4 tier patrols, right?
Yeah.
On the skill list. Yeah, I don't use those. I only use 1 and 2.
Right, but you were mentioning it, so I just want to make sure you knew that.
Oh, right. No, I know that. Like, I saw those,
yeah.
I'm like, why would this is not beneficial? This doesn't make any sense for me to support my team. It's like a half measure, so I never used them.
Right. Yeah, it's sometimes fun to play an enterprise, like, you know, domination build, and you just go right down here. But that's enterprise. That's a different ship than Yorktown. Same class, different ship. Anyway, no flags.
Which is kind of funny to me because you'd think if they're the same class, they would kind of be similar. Right.
But I do like how Wargaming has made, you know, Enterprise, Hornet, and Yorktown different, you know, each different. And I love the Enterprise, like historically, I love this class of ship. So for me, it's just wonderful. I also love Lexington. So Wargaming, if you're listening to me, where the heck is Saratoga? I just want to put that out there. And as a matter of fact, by the way, Wargaming, if you're listening to me, the Saratoga is what's in the game, not the Lexington. It's the Saratoga. So you're wrong there. Let's put that out there. I want to see a 1920 style Saratoga, tier 6 premium aircraft carrier with like Ranger planes. That's what I want to see. And those 8-inch guns. Woohoo! That'd be fun. All right, let's get to the game. For those of you guys wondering why the Saratoga is the Saratoga and not Lexington in game, it's because of the fact that the Saratoga was updated with the dual 5-inch turrets that you find on Essex and Midway and other ones. The Lexington was sunk before she could be upgraded, so she sank with 8-inch secondary batteries. She had two dual barrels on that, so 8 total barrels. Anyway. Here you go, launching off your torpedo bombers to start. Why the torpedo bombers right away?
Like I said, I love my torpers, and the whole point for me to support my team is like, I'm looking to find where the heck the DD is, spot him, focus him, just be on him as long as I can, maybe pin him with the torps, broadside, right? And then they shoot him broadside, because he's gonna want to avoid my torps first, and by then I'm already pinging, I'm like, hey, he's right here, hit him.
And Ice Rose, good point. Yeah, Saratoga found a lot of Japanese torpedoes in her life, but she was unsinkable, if you think about it, until 2 atomic bombs. So.
Protectors alight.
Okay, what is that plane for?
I was trying to prevent them from going center, controlling center and map by the plane going over our main point. So.
Okay. This is a double carrier game, and you're top tier.
We have fighters to spare. Basically, is how I thought. I'm like, oh, I can be a little more loose with my patrols.
Were they sunk? Really? I could have sworn she had the 8 inches when she was sunk. I'll have to go back and look at that. Nevada win. Yes, that's true. She's great at beaching. I would go for the Nelson here, not the Synop.
Really?
Yeah, well, look at your... AA's worse, he's off by himself, and 2, look at your angle. This is a terrible angle to drop on. Get a hit point buff if she beaches, there you go. Ironically, I would probably follow up with a second drop on Synop now, because you do have a good angle on his side. And as you can see, Nuremberg is able just to turn in right now anyway. Whereas the Synop had already turned left to dodge your first salvo of torpedoes.
Right, and then he's lined up broadside.
Bingo. So you kind of missed that opportunity, but I understand you're like, ooh, the obligatory exploding Nuremberg. I know. Let's make him explode.
I thought he's squishy. I like squishy.
Yes. But the thing is, most of the rest of your team will take care of him anyways. But that's why I thought Nelson might have been a better target early on, and you probably would have seen the Nürnberg, and maybe you could have angled in on him, or still struck at the Nelson anyways. And I wonder, well, Nürnberg doesn't, I wonder if Nürnberg has any torpedo protection. Because if he had proximity fuse, you might have killed him on that first drop instead of the second. I'm just curious.
Oh, that's right. You mentioned it. But I didn't know that about proximity fuse. I didn't know what that one was. I was like, I don't know what this is. So I never paid attention to it. I was like, I don't know. I guess I'll do with this thing instead.
Protectors alight.
A little late on your use of planes there. I'm guessing you're trying to protect the destroyer, but
Concentrate fire.
Yeah, I'm also trying to look for the DD because I still cannot find him, which makes me concerned. Because this is when they slip through your line and then they torp people from behind. Usually the BBs.
true. Another reason to go out wide early on in the Nelson instead of the Synop. Because this is standard battle. So usually standard battle, the middle is lava for most people. Look at you beating up on this poor Bayern. What did he ever do to you?
You looked at me wrong.
Now his engines are out, so that's kind of good for you. Hey, there's the destroyer.
Yep, and as soon as I see him, I'm like, I start pinging. I'm like, we gotta kill this guy because he's gonna take out our DD, and there's only 2 DDs per team. So once we lose eyes like that, everyone relies on me, and I'm one ship. So it's like,
That's right.
it's not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Then I get reported because oh, he didn't spot for me once.
Nice torpedoes there, triple hit. Now here, I might not even drop my torpedoes because they're not going to hit. They're not going to hit.
Right,
They're
he's
too...
behind the island. He's smoking. So I figured,
Right.
like, maybe I buy a few extra seconds for my team to maybe get a shot, but it's just like so unlikely. So this
So
is where
what
I would bring in my heavy bombers.
Sure. So what you would do for that situation is you go into attack mode because you take less damage in attack mode. You fly right over him. Yep. You fly right over him, and then you turn around and either drop him or you just loiter over him until he's dead. And that's Lady Torpedo there. Hi. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done that before. I didn't know I took less damage. I'm gonna do that more often actually, because I'll use that to decrease my turn time to get him on the second run if I'm too close.
Sure.
And I thought she was still under fire, so I smoked her because I was like, oh, she's still under fire. I don't want to lose her yet. It's too early in the match. So
A plane
I
would have
couldn't
been
tell
good
if she
too.
was or wasn't. Oh, really?
Sure. Well, a fighter, yeah, because he's continuing to move on in. He DCP or he effed off anyways, but you know, if you're trying to protect your teammate anyways, putting a plane up there gives him that little extra pressure, right? Like, I gotta get this drop off now because if I don't, I'm gonna lose my planes anyways. So you've pretty much won this side. Are you gonna stay on this side, or are you gonna flip to the other side now?
I kind of felt like staying on side because we were pushing, we were winning. I feel like on the other side, the whole match, they weren't asking for support and they're hiding behind islands. I'm like, I'm not gonna throw planes to spot, and they're not gonna take any shots again. Because a lot of times I feel like I'll spot an ED or I'll spot someone vulnerable, and I'll ping, and no one takes shots, and then I just waste my planes and I waste my time when I could help someone else who's actually working with me.
Sure. Now you're smoking Torpedo here. Did she ask for smoke?
I just assumed that she was being targeted by something else. She tends to go in without support, I've noticed, and get picked off. And then it's like, all right, well, now we don't have a DD. So, and then I spotted this cruiser over here, and I'm like, oh, is he beached? He's not moving. So.
He's disconnected. And you are using WASD way too much.
Really?
And that, yes, and that caused, you see how big your aiming circle went because you're using WASD? You want to use your mouse cursor to make those slight adjustments. You don't want to A and D.
You can use your mouse cursor?
Yeah, you just look to the right or look to the left.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'm a filthy casual, man. I don't play enough.
That's okay. Well, hey, that's why you're supporting me, and that's why you're sending the replay. But
I found out a year ago that I could press 3 and I could widen my torp spread, and I've been playing the game for 6 years.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I didn't know that. No one told me. Someone on Zelda's squad told me we were playing ops because I accidentally pressed 3. And I'm like, oh, and they're like, what? You can widen your torp spread? And they all like smack the forehead Pikachu style. Like, yeah. I'm like,
I just did too. I don't play carriers, so.
Yeah. By the way, I want to mention too, your positioning right now you may want to consider, if you are deciding, remember I asked you earlier, like, what are you going to do? If you decide you want to press the advantage on this side, then you need to move your carrier closer, yes. And
I wanted this one specifically because I wanted to ask you about positioning. Like, where is safe to go? Because I go to places and then I get picked off because the island does not protect me.
Well, the nice thing you have going for you, hold on a sec. The nice thing you have going for you in this particular carrier is your smoke gives you, you know, get out of jail free card, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, in general, I do like the idea of being behind this big island you're at. It's very safe early on. You don't know where the destroyers are, etc., etc. But once the battle unfolds, you can start thinking about where else is safe. This island here, on Bravo Charlie 89, is a pretty safe position to go early on. Once you know you're going to win the side and you want to support that side, okay? And then after that's done, you move up to here. Like right now, for example, I would move up to here. As a matter of fact, I would just keep following the Richelieu and just stay like 2 or 3 grid squares behind him. And that puts you in a position to just start farming them in the rear. Alternately,
so at what point of the match,
alternately, because of your position here, you could also move to this spot here, Charlie 4-5, and just focus your strikes on, you know, their side that's trying to push through.
So at what point do you make the decision in this match to make the move to that first island? Like, at what point during the match? The
first island, this island here, I make that decision once I see that there's nothing over on this side that can kill me. So another reason to...
was dead.
Correct. Another reason to say I want to go and hit the Nelson, because then you can kind of scout that side and see if it's safe or not. But yeah, once you know the destroyer's in the middle and, you know, you've killed it, then it's absolutely safe now to start moving. Why wait so long to return the carrier after dropping? For torpedoes, or... I guess it would be for torpedoes.
Sometimes I like to watch my torps do damage. It's cool.
Okay. You can hit the Z key and do that as well, by the way, I think.
Z.
You hit Z for zebra. You can, because you use that to watch your shells. So I think if you hit the F key, you can try it next time. Hit the F key to return to carrier, and hit Z to follow your torpedoes. You can do it that way.
I didn't know that.
And Angelic said something too I want to comment on. He said this is a decent line for Hidden Menace. Yes and no. It's good for Hidden Menace because it does allow you to get closer because your concealment is down. But the problem with Hidden Menace is, frankly, I think it's bugged. It takes so long for the planes to get to safe altitude when you send them back that oftentimes they all die. Now, for Ensalada in the Yorktown, specifically, there's only the torpedo bombers to worry about. But if you're in the habit of striking once and then effing off immediately, you lose all those planes. They fixed it? Are you sure? Because I could have sworn I saw on the CC Discord, was it Raymu talking about it? I want to say it was Raymu talking about it, and he knows far more about carriers than I ever do, so I just use his knowledge, you know. Okay, well, if you're sure they fixed it, then fair enough. So yeah, you could try Hidden Menace. That could be an interesting 4th point instead of the torpedo, or instead of the dive bomber one, the bomber flight control. But I feel like bomber flight control is still going to be more useful. Now this plane is again to prevent Lady Torpedo from being able to attack. I want to comment real quick. I'm pausing it here because if you hadn't dropped the plane, this would be a perfect time to drop the plane, or maybe just a second earlier, because the Yorktown's got no place to fly his plane. So yeah, your planes would probably latch on as torpedo bombers.
Oh.
You don't play carriers as you hate them, got few of them, don't use them. Fair enough.
Hey, I'll take them. I like CVs.
Now, if you're planning on attacking the Yorktown with your torpedo bombers, you probably aren't going to get more than 1 strike off because he's got...
Yeah.
Right, because he's got the fighters and all that. You could try, right now, you're a little late on this. If you used your heal a little bit earlier, but I don't think you'll be able to heal through it anyways.
No, I've tried it before. I never heal through these CVs when they're like same tier or higher tier. So I dump one and I dip because
yeah,
I feel
and
bad
they're all
killing
dead
my
anyway.
pilots.
Yeah, they're all dead anyway. See, the 2 that struck survived, and that's it. So what you do is you pre-drop in that situation. So if you know you're gonna strike the carrier, pre-drop 1, maybe 2 squadrons, and then go and attack.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like leapfrog it so you can get there faster and get a higher turnaround. By the way, I had no idea where the other DD was, and I was kind of panicking because I'm like, I don't know where this DD is. I'm really hoping he doesn't kill 80 or anyone else on this flank because I cannot find him.
Well,
no one pinned him out either, so...
Z31 last spotted on Foxtrot 1. I'm using a mod that tells me on the minimap if a ship is spotted, a teammate is spotted. Novosibirsk, whatever. And the Turpets are both spotted, which tells me the Z31 is probably right about here following them. And you can see all these you can see all the ASW dropping where these battleships think he is. So use that anyway, even if you don't have the mod that shows if it's spotted or not. You see where these guys are dropping ASW, and that should be a good hint. He's got to be over there somewhere.
So, this is probably like not completely applicable to this situation, but a lot of times there's players who will just be dropping their SW, and like I'm like, guys, there's no planes here, or there's no ship here, or there's no nothing. Like, oh, we were just doing that to mess around. I'm like, So now I don't pay attention when people drop those anymore because I feel like I'm getting trolled or they're just derping, and it's like, no, I'm not wasting that with these clowns. And because I didn't feel like they pushed for most of the match and they just hid behind islands, I felt like they weren't really like, not really trying to like put in as much effort as they could. So it's not like now I'm gonna spend it with people who are actually working with me. Because as a CV, it's kind of frustrating when you get matches you know you can win, but like because your team is either hiding or running or like not wanting to engage.
He's right where I circled.
Is he? Oh.
Yes.
Because I asked several times in chat, like, yo, where's this DD at? And then no one says anything. It's like...
Yep.
I think they killed him, though. Yeah, they got him.
Not sure why the bomber squad was recalled.
We stand victorious.
So, Betaflex, most likely that squadron was recalled because Ensalada wanted to have another squadron with other consumables used. So he's thinking more of cycling through the utility as opposed to cycling through the damage. And I agree, if you've got the bombers, you're the perfect destroyer hunter. With the bombers, go hunt the destroyer. But you kind of heard through the talking, he wasn't sure where the destroyer was. So he went for, utility as opposed to doing the damage.
Yeah, and I've had matches where I get my heavy bombers and they're so slow, and I go around the map looking for this DD, and they're like, yo, are you ever going to spot for the team, or are you just going to waste everyone's time? And I'm like, yo, I'm trying to find the DD and no one's telling me where it's at. And then I feel bad, so I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to go unless I know where he is. Now,
right.
Because he's so easy. Some DDs are so small and hard to spot. You got to be really, you got to be on top of them. Like, you'll be detected, but you don't know where it is. And
that's just the magic of it. But, again, you're hurting yourself a little bit because you didn't take the two captain skills that help with your speed for your bombers.
Right.
And the one skill that helps all of your planes speed. So, you definitely want to get that one.
Speed's crucial. I think there was a match where it was Wookiee and we just randomly ran into each other. I was their CV. And thrice I could have saved a ship. Like 3 separate ships in that match, and we could have won that match if I had been quick enough to get to them with the smoke. Like by the time I dropped the smoke, the rounds were already in the air and killed them. It's like they exploded as soon as the smoke enveloped them. So that cost us a match. So
right, yeah. Carrier is one of the most frustrating classes to play as because one, you're basically hated by just about everyone. But two, if you can't get teamwork to happen, it's a real struggle.
It's hard.
And you play for the teamwork. That's clear here. And if you look at the team score, you're in the middle of the pack, but you don't care because you won the game. That's what matters to you. And I'm right there with you. When I played Yorktown and ranked, and I was the very bottom, I was proud of that because what that meant was I enabled my team, the others above me, to do what they needed to do to help us get the win. That's why I love Yorktown so much because it's really great for that, purpose.
I would say like about 80% of my matches nowadays are with Essex and York, and it's
Yeah.
I am plus 75 karma,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the ship I majority play with, so I do get a lot of compliments. I also get reported too,
Of course.
like so, but that comes with the CV. But I do get a lot of
Wait,
comments.
how do you check your karma?
Yeah, you
It's
click
in-
on you left click on your thingy, on your name.
On your name on the top left of the
Yeah.
port screen. I'll show you when I go into the live play later if you ask Tanis.
So
Let's
I mean,
put-
I do want to maximize the amount of CV play before the new update comes in. I gave it a shot.
Yeah.
I played 20 matches in that new setting that they offered us. It's not like the end of CV gameplay for at least me. It is
Mhm.
different. I don't like I cannot spot because
Mhm.
half of what I do, as you saw in that match, and in most matches I play, like I'm trying to spot things for my team so they can finish them off. Or if not,
Right.
then I take my shot at the very end before they get shot down.
Right.
But that you take that away from me, like I don't know, like I'm just not as useful.
Right. So that's where I think, especially for you, dropping the swift flying fish will help. Picking up improved engines will greatly help. Just everything in general, frankly. Proxy fuse will be very, very, very helpful, especially in Essex. And I think bomber flight control and switching to HP is going to do what you want it to do for getting your planes to target and actually being able to drop as opposed to blowing up. So look into
Wait,
those.
which one was it? The explosive thing. What was that one? I'm trying to do it right now.
Up here, bomber modification 1. Yeah, I agree, Betaflex. I wouldn't worry about the carry rework right now. I don't think it's coming anytime soon. I don't know any better. Wargaming, may or may not have shared that information with me, but, because I'm under an NDA, I can't really say anything about it other than personal opinion.
2, 3, 4, 5.
I don't think it's important until Wargaming says something about it, and then okay, now we look at it.
Personally, I don't
proximity
really like it
fuse.
because I got used to the thing being attacked the moment the planes fly over, and then there's all of a sudden they're not anymore, and it makes me really twitchy.
Yeah. But yeah, so
I found
try
it. It's a 4th tier.
try doing a build like this and see how it works for you. I think you'll find it'll be much more comfortable for you doing damage with torpedo bombers. The way that I saw you utilizing your planes, we'll talk about that in a little bit when we get the replay render, but I think you're better suited going for just getting your strikes in and also getting your planes on station sooner anyways, right? So they can smoke up your teammates sooner. Get in front of an enemy to
So-
drop a plane sooner, that sort of thing.
So speed over the heavy bombers then, because I wanted to be
Yeah.
faster. So
Yeah.
I should get those first tier 2 ones, tier 1 ones. What is it? It's improved engine boost, and then engine techie, right? That's
I don't think you need those.
Oh,
So here's what I would look at when we're talking about fine tuning this particular build. One thing to consider is if you want to drop repair specialist, if you think about it, you're flying without flags, right? So India
on
Delta,
randoms I do, not on ranked or clan battles.
Sure.
I save my flags because I only have like a 200 each or less than 100 sometimes. So it just depends.
sure. But if you think about it, if you're used to how the planes play out in randoms, and you go to ranked when you are going to use your tryhard flags, if you think about this, the HP India Delta here, and then the ship HP flag, which also boosts your squadron HP, those two together pretty much take care of repair specialist, other than you lose a consumable, but you do get the extra consumable anyway from squadron consumables. So do you need that one extra heal? On Yorktown, maybe not, because it's only one squadron that gets that heal, that takes, that's utilized from that. Shinano is different. Shinano gets 2 squadrons where it gets healed. Maybe that's got added value. So the reason I want to point that out to you, Ensalada, is if you go with these 2 flags to make up for that, now that frees you up to go for the 2 1-point skills you were talking about, improved engine boost and engine techie.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And these,
That
of course,
1 point
are
to spare.
right. And these are useful for all of your planes, all your squadrons, not just the torpedo bombers, whereas the repair specialist is
Right.
only good for your torpedo bombers.
Okay, I'll try that. Well, this is for random. We're talking about ranked or just in general.
In general, because like I was saying, if you were to play if you're to play like this with these two flags, it's going to give you a similar experience, not the exact same experience, but a similar experience to what you had with a repair specialist. And when I watched that last game, repair specialist wouldn't have mattered because you basically repaired at a terrible time and everybody died anyway. So
Yeah, it was
you know.
futile at that point. I was like, I missed my timing.
Exactly.
It's probably because
Exactly.
again, my time was split. I was always looking at the mini map and the big map when I bird's eye view because I was like, where is this DD?
Yep.
So
So think of it this way: if you get in the habit of not having that extra charge, and learning more about when to use it and stuff, that's far more important than the fact that it lasts for 10% longer. Because if all your planes die anyways, or you get your strike off and you recall immediately, it doesn't really matter that the repair lasts longer, right?
right, all right. I
So-
upgraded it and I posted it. So I will try this build out for a week or two and see how it works. You said in general, because I do use this in like clan battles if I can.
This
but I
is
also
a
used in ranked.
Yeah, this
So-
is a fine build in ranked and clan battles because guess what? When you're in ranked or clan battles, you pop up these two flags, right? This one is just stupid for your planes. By the way, you don't have Ovechkin, do you?
What?
Ovechkin?
I don't know what that is. Is that Russian? I don't have it.
Okay. He's a special commander that Wargaming released like 8 years ago and never has again. And the reason I ask is because he's got buffed
I've only played
survivability.
for
Expert.
6 years, and the first 3 years were on EU because of a friend, and then I switched
Yeah.
over to NA. And
Got it.
I don't have any cool US commanders. I have 2 cool Japanese commanders, so I'm working on getting Shinano. I almost got enough steel.
Good.
Because I want to switch over to that because I've been
Yep.
told that one's more useful for what I do.
Yeah, you'll
So-
love it. You'll love it. But anyways, getting back to the talk here, speed is great for you. The consumable recharge is good because it helps with your squadron prep time. You're
Right.
gonna run into a carrier if you're playing at least ranked, or randoms. So having the anti-air flag is just why not? And then you can add the flood chance flags would be really good for a carrier. And then
I
you
get all
could.
of the flood ones. Like
Yep.
like
Yep.
dwarfs.
Yep, and then you do this one here to get the smoke generator curtain even longer
Yeah.
action time, or alternately you go for the ram flag. But one of those, and boom, there you go. And you are, I'd say this is. I'm pretty sure this is very close to my build. I think I do this and I drop this. I think I did, but I'd have to boot up the game myself and look. But going back to the talk about teamwork and when your team doesn't want to work, all that kind of stuff. That's, I think, one of the reasons why most carrier players that you find in this game, they focus on doing damage and they
Right.
care less about their team. Because why am I supporting a team that doesn't care about anything I'm doing for them to support them?
Right. I mean, you see it in the 3 videos I've sent. Like, I always say,
Mhm.
good luck, have fun. And then I wish I won, et cetera, and
Mm-hmm.
global. And
Mhm.
then I tell my team, if you need me, ping me where to go, give me some time. And if you need to smoke or you're pushing a cap, let me know in
Mhm.
advance and I will cover you. So I communicate a little bit most of the time, like 90% of the time. No one really communicates me back unless they know me or play with me before.
Yeah.
So I feel that's more and more common now because I play pretty late and only certain people play late. So I keep running into the same people like Wookie
Yep.
and
Yep.
Torp, Arrow, a few other people. And once they see me, it's I get immediately plus karma. And like I kind of usually stick with them because I know they're going to work with me. And I know
Yep.
if I can work with just a single group of 2 or 3 ships, we can tilt the battle in our favor.
Things that you can do for that can easily help with teamwork. And by the way, chat, if you guys have ideas for a title for this, should I go to YouTube? Share, please. Things that you can do to help with teamwork instead of taking the time to type everything up because that takes forever. Get in the habit of
Yes.
using the quick keys. Get in the habit of using, especially
You mean
like
the B thing?
F3.
Like when you press B?
Yes, when you hold down B and you got the radial. So like, F3 on a target or the B and up, I think it is, everybody focus this
Yeah.
target, right? The other one that I get in the habit of using is set a smoke screen. Because if you're going over somebody and you're about to smoke them and you use set a smoke screen, you say it like 3 times or something. Okay, now you're telling them you're going to smoke them, right? And then
Oh,
you go right over them and now they know, okay, you're helping them out. Great. And when a player knows that a carrier is working with them, willing to work with them, then they're typically more willing to work with a carrier player.
yeah,
So-
normally. I was just told that's spamming if I do that more than twice.
Yeah,
So, and I get reported for it.
Well, good for them. It really depends on what you're trying to make happen. If you're trying to set a smoke screen and you want them to know it's coming, so they don't need to set their own, for example, or you know, there's
or they
this
outrun my
down.
smoke.
Yeah.
Or they fire and then they get torped anyways.
Exactly. So, you know, hey, you can't control if they're paying attention or not, but the least you can do is at least put it out there so that people know it. But when I'm looking at your replay and I'm looking at the render, most of your fighters were useful for area denial, but that was about it. I mean, you were able to take out some planes, of course, but I feel like, you know, I highlighted the one time. I think if you are maybe a little bit more judicious about when you're using your planes, that could definitely help. You know, and that 10% patrol radius, it's only useful for area denial. Like it's
Right.
You know.
And I usually focus on that in most matches because if we can, it's like chess. If I can control the center of the map, I limit your movement, which means you tend to be more vulnerable to my side. But
yeah,
like, is this a situational thing, or do you feel like is there a tier method, right? Like, is aerial denial better, or is fighter supremacy better? Like, which one do you prioritize as a CV player for yourself?
As a carrier player, I will typically focus more on fighter supremacy early. And I always go for the early kill of that first squadron because that sets the tone. And if I can get that early kill on the first enemy squadron, okay, that tells me a little bit about the skill level or lack of skill level of the enemy carrier. So if I put the plane down and they immediately, you know, dodge it, I'm like, okay, I'm switching over to area denial now. But if I put the plane down and I take all of his planes out, aha, I got him. Now I can go, and every time I see him, I'm focusing more on flying and putting my planes down where he's going to fly. Which area denial can be a part of it, but it really depends on knowing what the carrier, thinking about from the carrier's perspective, the enemy carrier, what is he trying to do? If he's got torpedo bombers, he's going to try to hit my battleship. Okay, I want to make sure that I drop my planes between the two of them, and I want to try to do it just as he's going to strike, because then my planes are going to latch, and, you know, even if he gets the torpedo drop off, you know, I'm gonna om-nom their planes. And nothing makes me feel better than being in a carrier and being up against somebody who really doesn't understand how to dodge that kind of stuff. And I take out 40 of their aircraft, because if the game goes long, I know that carrier player is in a severe disadvantage.
Yeah. I've usually out attritioned most CVs in most of my matches that go to the wire, where it's just me and him or one other ship left. Like, they just don't have planes, you know?
Yeah. And Yorktown helps because of the tacticals.
Right. So I kind of have already advantage. So I just try to take advantage of it, literally. But like this match, like when he was sending his fighters HE planes, and then I put my patrol, he immediately deviated. I'm like, okay, so he understands that I'm trying to snipe him, so he's not gonna challenge me. So I'm just gonna focus fighters where I can cover gaps. So that's kind of my thinking of it. But you're saying purposely gauge the player and see if I can, because sometimes like I'll let him come near me, he'll drop, I'll deviate, he'll follow, and then I'll drop my fighters. So I'll pick his off, but mine get away, and then his patrol just wastes its time there and gets eaten up by AA fire. So that's normally what I do, but not all CV, at least lately, I've noticed there are more CV players that are a little better skilled. So that's not working as well for me anymore.
If you look at if you're talking about the initial engagement with the enemy planes, when he saw you, he immediately turned south.
Yeah, and so I was like, well, okay, so he doesn't want to engage.
He doesn't want to engage, correct. So what's nice about him turning south is if you don't pop your planes down, that's a threat, and that keeps him moving south. That keeps him away from spotting your teammates and damaging them.
I see what you mean.
Watch it again. As soon as you put your plane down, he just rolls out and goes and attacks whatever, because you're no longer a threat to him. So if you don't put the planes down, then you see what he's going to do. If he decides to roll out and come, then you go and counter him, and then try to put your planes in front and put the plane down. If you can't and he gets around you, oh well, then just go strike something and don't worry about it. But like that first drop there, I know you said you want area denial, but again, with this being standard battle, most destroyer players aren't going to go through the middle of the game unless they've got really good anti-air in a 2-carrier game. Come on, you know. So
Right.
I don't see that idea of vision and zoning out the middle being that important as you know, kill the planes and or you know, do some scouting, see where the destroyers are going, you know, find one and then go find the other, and okay, now I know if it's safe to move or not.
So like in this scenario, in that first drop, should I, instead of dropping, just chased him west and
I
just
would've-
blocked him
yeah,
from spotting?
I
should
would've- Yeah, kept on going south. I would have kept going south because he didn't change his course until you dropped your plane. So I would have kept going south because he's probably trying to drag you into, you know, his teammates with
Hey.
anti-air, which is fine. As soon as he does that, then you just go and strike whatever he dragged you to, or you turn away. You know, you have possibilities there. So
Okay.
support line tricks of hunting planes is well known now, so no one wants their planes to disappear. That is very true, Hujam. Somebody who's, you know,
Yeah.
and again, that's the skill. That's the litmus test. Are you a good carrier player or are you not? Let's find out. That's what you're doing early on, right? You're sizing up your opponents. And in this case, it's a 2-carrier game. So there's 2 players to try to size up. And one of them is going to be more skilled than the other. So then you just go take advantage of the lesser skilled one. So, all right. We've been talking about this for a long time. Do you guys have any ideas for title for this replay? Ensalada, do you have an idea?
Yeah, fear my airboats.
Airboats?
Yeah, fear my. Yeah, what's the ship game? So, fear my airboats. Yeah, that's what I thought. Someone called them airboats in the game. Like, you know what? I'm just gonna take that because that sounds funny.
Okay.
So.
Fear my airboats. That's fine. 2-3PO, what are you confused about? But anyway, Ensalada, thank you for supporting me on Patreon and of course here on Twitch and all that. I really appreciate all the bits and stuff when you come by and say hi. So thank you very much for that. And I'm looking forward to hearing your results from when you give this a try.
Yeah, the Santander and San Martin and Aldini upgrades I did. I'm getting a lot more use out of my funny button.
Good.
Because I took them off the torp build, which made more sense. You guys are right. Like, I don't get a lot of torp hits with those. So, and sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but it doesn't matter because I'm using my guns more often anyways. So
Gotcha.
I like the results and I kept it on. Once I was successful with that other one, I did it to the other 2. So
Good.
I think
Okay.
it was a good change, and I appreciate the help. Again, I'm a filthy casual, so like I'm here to learn as much as I can because I've
Yeah.
been playing a long time, and most people say I'm above average, but I don't feel that. I feel like I'm a very much below
Yep.
average player.
Yep.
So, and I want to be more useful to my teammates, whether it's on stream or off. So,
Well, and see, you're the reason why I always tell people if they struggle with the game, give me a replay and let's look at it because, you know, you can watch Super Unicums go and play carriers, but you don't understand what they're doing or why because you know, certain basic
explanation.
things aren't even there. So,
I
awesome.
didn't even know, like, the thing you said with my SW, like, you said I got to press a different button, right? I didn't know that. I don't even know what that is. So,
Right. All right, cool. Well, let's move on
GGs.
to the next
Thanks,
replay
man.
then. GG's indeedy. Indeedy.